What if Spider-Noir's ending secretly revealed something much bigger about the Spider-Verse? Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Spider-Noir just delivered one of the darkest and most mysterious endings we've seen in a Spider-Man project in years. And honestly, a lot of fans are still trying to figure out what it all actually means. From Ben Reilly's final decision and Silvermane's fate to the hidden multiverse references and that final noir-inspired scene, there are already tons of theories about where Spider-Noir could be heading next. And the craziest part is that some of the biggest details were incredibly easy to miss. In today's video, we're fully breaking down the ending of Spider-Noir, explaining what really happened, the hidden meanings behind the final scenes, and how this could connect to the larger Spider-Verse in the future. Trust me, the deeper you look into this ending, the darker and more interesting it becomes. So stick around till the end because there's a lot to unpack here. The first season of Spider-Noir has honestly surprised a lot of fans and may end up becoming one of the most unique live-action Spider-Man projects ever made. Nicolas Cage absolutely shines as Ben Reilly, the aging private investigator who was once the vigilante known as the Spider. The series blends dark noir storytelling, brutal action, detective mystery, and unexpected comedy in a way that feels very different from most modern superhero shows. In many ways, the tone actually feels closer to Spider-Man and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy than fans may have expected. Cage constantly shifts between over-the-top action scenes, emotional drama, and strange noir humor, creating a version of Spider-Man that feels both classic and completely unique at the same time. And honestly, for fans disappointed by Nicolas Cage's older Marvel projects like Ghost Rider, Spider-Noir finally feels like the perfect showcase for his chaotic comic book energy. Now, if you've already finished the first season, whether you watched it in black and white or the full-color version, then you probably noticed that the finale seems designed to wrap up most of the major storylines pretty cleanly. The ending almost feels like the creators wanted to make sure the series could still work as a complete standalone story, in case Amazon and Prime Video decide not to continue the show with future seasons. But even though many of the major conflicts are resolved, the ending still leaves behind several interesting mysteries and subtle teases for what could happen next. If you pay close attention to the final scenes, the series quietly hints that Ben Reilly's story may not actually be over yet. There are several small details suggesting that new cases, bigger threats, and possibly even larger Spider-Verse connections could still exist in the future. So while Spider-Noir's ending may appear simple on the surface, there is actually a lot more hidden underneath the final episode than many viewers initially realized. To fully understand the ending of Spider-Noir, there are several important plot details from the second half of the season that fans need to remember. Around the middle of the series, Ben Reilly begins investigating Dr. Faber, played by Amy Aquino. Ben eventually realizes that she is secretly responsible for activating the dangerous mutations seen in several former soldiers who were experimented on during World War I. However, Dr. Faber's motivations turn out to be far more personal than expected. She is desperately trying to save her own son, who has mysteriously aged far beyond his real age, despite technically still being in his 30s. After capturing and drugging Ben, she discovers that his unique spider-powered DNA contains the cure she has been searching for. Using Ben's blood, she successfully saves her son. But despite helping her family, Dr. Faber ultimately refuses to save Ben himself. At the same time, Ben also learns that Kat Hardy, played by Lee Jun-lee, was the person who secretly betrayed him. Her decision came from desperation because she wanted to save Flint Marko, portrayed by Jack Houston. Meanwhile, Robbie Robertson's investigation finally exposes the truth publicly through the Daily Bugle, causing chaos across the city. In response, Silvermane's criminal organization attacks Dr. Faber's laboratory, burns it down, and kills the scientist before she can reveal anything else. By this point, Ben has gone into hiding. However, before escaping, he manages to take samples of the antidote capable of neutralizing the mutated villains, and potentially removing his own powers as well. At first, Ben seriously considers giving up his abilities permanently, but he is ultimately convinced not to, after realizing that abandoning his powers would also mean abandoning his responsibility to help people. Ben successfully uses the antidote on Lonnie, who then leaves the city behind. Once Silvermane and the corrupt mayor discover this, they both become desperate to gain control over the spider for their own purposes. Complicating things even further, Ben's powers temporarily disappear, because of the drugs used on him earlier in the season. Before confronting Silvermane, Ben and Robbie Robertson create a risky plan where Robbie disguises himself as the Spider in order to deliver the antidote directly into Silvermane's hideout. Silvermane refuses to allow his own men to receive the cure, which leads to complete chaos. At the perfect moment, Ben's powers finally return, allowing him to web the antidote vials back into his hands, just as a massive battle erupts. During this final fight, Flint Marko and Dirk fully embrace their transformations and officially become Sandman and Megawatt, setting up even bigger threats for the future of Spider-Noir. At the end of Spider-Noir, nearly every major storyline finally collides in one massive confrontation. Before the final battle, tensions between Cat, Hardy, and Silvermane reach their breaking point. Silvermane threatens to kill Cat unless Ben publicly reveals himself as the Spider immediately. Under pressure, Cat finally admits the truth. She was the one who ordered a hit on Ben and secretly informed the mayor about his illegal alcohol delivery operations. Her actions were motivated by desperation because she wanted to stop Flint Marko from sinking deeper into the criminal underworld. Just before Silvermane can carry out his threat against her, Robbie Robertson suddenly arrives, interrupting the situation and triggering the chaotic final showdown. During the aftermath of the battle, Cat manages to corner Silvermane inside a hall of mirrors. In a fittingly noir-style ending for the crime boss, she finally kills him herself, bringing an end to one of the season's biggest threats. At the same time, Ben's powers begin weakening again as he heads into the city streets to battle Sandman and Megawatt. Despite struggling with his unstable abilities, Ben still manages to defeat Megawatt by webbing him directly into the path of a moving train. However, Ben only has one final dose of the antidote remaining. Instead of using it on himself, he chooses to save Flint Marko. The cure successfully reverses Flint's Sandman transformation, returning him to his normal human form. Afterward, Flint escapes the city together with Cat, leaving their future uncertain. Several months later, Ben reunites with the couple and admits that he still has not forgiven Cat for betraying him. He explains that revealing his identity to Dr. Faber directly led to his kidnapping and nearly destroyed his life. More importantly, Ben realizes that Cat manipulated his emotions in order to get closer to him for her own goals. Even though Flint and Cat are now effectively hiding from the criminal world, the series still leaves the possibility open for them to return in the future. Back in the city, it is revealed that Silvermane's larger political plan completely failed. His attempt to manipulate the election collapses, allowing the mayor to secure another term and officially ending Silvermane's reign of terror over the city. The series closes on a surprisingly hopeful note. Back at the detective office, Ben and Janet, played by Karen Rodriguez, receive a call involving a brand new case. As they prepare to leave together, the camera quietly reveals that Janet's last name has now been added beside Ben's on the office door, symbolizing that the two have officially become partners moving forward. And with that final moment, Spider-Noir ends by closing one chapter of Ben Reilly's life, while subtly teasing that many more dark mysteries still wait ahead. The ending of Spider-Noir may seem like a complete conclusion at first, but there are actually several important hints about where the franchise could go next. The final scene shows Ben and Janet literally closing the office door behind them as the credits begin, almost symbolizing the end of one chapter. But one subtle detail reveals that their story is really just beginning. Janet is no longer simply Ben's secretary. Her name is now officially placed beside his on the detective agency door, confirming that she has become Ben's full investigative partner moving forward. That small moment quietly sets up a completely new dynamic between the two characters for any future seasons. Interestingly, showrunner Oren Uziel has already hinted that a second season could take a much bigger approach by jumping several years forward in time. According to Uziel, the next chapter of the story could move closer to the beginning of World War II, placing Ben Reilly into an even darker and more dangerous historical setting. And honestly, that idea could completely transform the atmosphere of the series. The further the timeline moves away from 1933, the closer the world gets to massive political instability, economic collapse, and the growing threat of global war. That kind of setting could give Spider-Noir an even more intense backdrop for future mysteries and criminal conspiracies. However, Uziel also made it clear that the show would still remain focused on noir detective storytelling rather than becoming a full war series. One of the biggest strengths of Spider-Noir is that Ben Reilly works as a private investigator, which gives the writers endless storytelling possibilities. According to Uziel, all it takes is a knock on Ben's office door for an entirely new mystery, villain, or dangerous client to suddenly enter his life. That means future seasons could continue exploring completely different cases while still keeping the same noir detective formula fans loved in Season 1. So even if Spider-Noir eventually jumps into a new time period or larger historical events, the core idea of the series will likely stay the same. Ben Reilly solving dangerous mysteries while chaos constantly follows him wherever he goes. And honestly, that setup gives Spider-Noir almost unlimited potential for future seasons. It's important to remember that Nicolas Cage's character in Spider-Noir is not exactly the same version of the character seen in the Spider-Verse movies. In Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, Cage voiced Spider-Man Noir, a variant of Peter Parker. However, the live-action Spider-Noir series follows Ben Reilly instead. In Marvel Comics, Ben Reilly has a much more complicated history, originally being introduced as a clone of Peter Parker, who possesses all of Peter's memories and experiences. Because of that difference, if Spider-Noir receives a second season, it will likely draw more inspiration from the Spider-Man Noir comic storylines, rather than traditional Ben Reilly stories. One of the most obvious comic arcs the series could adapt is Spider-Man Noir, Eyes Without a Face. This story takes place roughly 8 months after the original Spider-Man Noir adventure and introduces a noir version of Otto Octavius. In the comics, Octavius secretly works with a Nazi-affiliated organization known as the Friends of New Germany. Together, they conduct horrifying brain surgery experiments designed to control people against their will. Flint Marko also plays an important role in the storyline, helping track down victims for the experiments. Because Flint ended the first season of Spider-Noir alongside Cat Hardy, the series would need to make several changes if it wanted to adapt this story directly. However, the general themes could still work very well and would allow the show to continue exploring issues like corruption, prejudice, and social injustice that were already present throughout Season 1. Another major comic storyline that could inspire future episodes is Spider-Man Noir, Twilight in Babylon. Set in 1939, the story begins with the death of a waitress and quickly expands into a globe-spanning mystery involving a powerful gemstone. The investigation takes Spider-Man Noir across Europe just as World War II is about to begin. The tone of the story feels very similar to classic Indiana Jones adventures, mixing mystery, action, historical intrigue, and dangerous villains. Throughout the story, Spider-Man Noir finds himself hunted by Nazi forces while attempting to uncover the truth behind the mysterious artifact. Most interestingly, this storyline introduces Electro as one of the major threats. Electro never appeared in the first season of Spider-Noir. Instead, the series used Megawatt as its electricity-based villain. That decision has led some fans to wonder whether the creators intentionally avoided using Electro because they may be saving him for a future season. If Spider-Noir continues, both of these comic storylines could provide a strong foundation for where Ben Reilly's story goes next, whether that means darker conspiracies in New York or larger adventures that stretch far beyond the city itself. So that was the ending of Spider-Noir Explained. While the finale wrapped up the main conflict with Silvermane and brought closure to several major storylines, it also left behind plenty of clues about where Ben Reilly's journey could go next. From Janet becoming Ben's official partner, to possible adaptations of classic Spider-Man Noir comic stories, the future of this universe looks incredibly exciting. And if Spider-Noir does get a second season, there's no shortage of directions the story could take. Whether it's a time jump toward World War II, the introduction of villains like Otto Octavius or Electro, or entirely new mysteries arriving at Ben's office door, the possibilities are almost endless. But now I want to hear from you guys. What was your favorite part of the Spider-Noir finale, and what do you want to see happen in Season 2? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future Spider-Man reviews, theories, and ending explained videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.